Hey, YouTube. Woke up this morning, out on my mind. So I started listening to some music. And I was listening to some of the gospel songs and well, just like one so far, but I'm gonna be real with you. Something that I have been in observation for quite some time is the changing of words. When we talk about certain things going on with people changing our videos, with people changing our music, with people changing the words that we speak, which are the words of God, biblically, a lot of times they do change our words, change what we're saying to you. We might be giving you instructions on how to do powerful prayer right here on YouTube and other channels or through other networks or medias. And a lot of times that stuff is changed so that you can't grasp the message. And it's unfair to you guys. Understand that we are not satanic. We are not people that's not serving God. We are people that serve God, but we are under attack spiritually because of the religion that we believe in. And that's with every religion. I haven't seen one religion that hasn't went under attack with these people talking about religion is man-made. Let me be real with you. When you start going through these attacks and you become a clergy of the Lord or a clerk of the Lord, you're going to write down God's message. You're going to write down ways to get out of these traps. If God deliver you, you have a duty and an obligation to deliver others. So you have to write these messages down. You didn't just get delivered because you was the strongest. Oh, no. Because you're going to be weak in that time. God's going to be the only strength you got. And if you is strong, trust me, you didn't get your strength on your own. God gave it. We go through so many different attacks, and the messages that we send out is only to strengthen, inspire, and to keep people going. When we talk about endurance, man, please, I ran out of endurance one time. I'm going to be real with you. Endurance takes strength. You're about to break. You're in a daze. You're weak. You're not as strong as you should be. But remember, internal fight starts within and resonates without. So you might be fighting within, comatose everything. You're fighting within, but it's coming out. And at this point, when you begin to come out, when God begins to release you, you get the opportunity to be freed from something. You have to be very, very careful. And you have to make sure you document your freedom. Because these freedoms are not easily given. Neither are they easy to endure. Honestly, a lot of our words are changed. The reason why our words are changed is the reason why they glorify the person that loses to them and take on the stigmata that they want them to take on instead of the stigmata of God. God carries his own stigmata. Its own stigmata. And I don't know if some of you have been through this where you're carrying the stigmata of Jesus. You're being constantly persecuted. So did they, the prophets that were before you. This is when you know when you're in alignment with God, because now you have to deal with persecution. You have to deal with rejection. You have to deal with people rejecting you that don't even like you. You know, people that say they like you will reject you too. Your own family start to reject you. You know, they're not talking about family. Family. You start to realize you ain't had nothing but a church family. I'm going to be real with you. A lot of times that's part of the reason why we stick to the church, because our ways are peculiar to others. They're not able to accept what God is doing in our lives, what God is doing with us, so they reject us. And they say, oh, well, we can't We can't be around her. She's different. She's odd. There's a peculiarness about her, or it's something different about her. You know, they can't receive your difference because at the same time, they're not in understanding. God is doing new things with you. I can't tell you, when I begin to wear my religious head covering, like all the time, the only time I take it off is usually when I'm bathing, and I begin to cover my head. Trust me, nobody else in my family is covering their heads. These are faith-believing people, but they're not covering their heads, the women. And they're looking at me, and they're like, oh, she's a little off. Only real people of God can understand where God is taking me. Only real people of God can understand what God is doing. But I'm interpreted as being odd, peculiar, different. And they're like, wow, she's so different. A little crazy, ain't it? That's usually how African American families do it. They'll call you crazy in a heartbeat. That one that one got a couple of screws loose. Don't worry about it. Because you're moving in the direction in which God has called for you to move. Don't get afraid because you're different. You look different because God is doing something different with you. Before, you had a group of people that embraced the Word of God but didn't want to implement the Word of God. They didn't want to do Jesus. See, these are the cultures that we're dealing with now. You got people that want the Holy Word of God. You want the Quran. You want all these godly books. You want the God, but you don't want to do what thus say the Lord do. You want holiness, but you don't want to do it. You just want the Word. So all you want to do is just grasp the word of it, but you don't want to live the life of it. And that's the farthest thing from what should be taking place. Either you can do what thus say the Lord do, or lose yourself in the process. Trust me, my eyesight has been gouged out. I go through so many different vision compromises, so it's ridiculous. But we walk not by sight, but by faith. So I'm dealing with sight compromise, but knowing that I don't walk by sight. I'm walking by the Word of God and having faith in the Word of God, having a belief in the Word of God that all things work together for the good of those that love Him and is called according to His purpose. So as though I'm blind, I remember the question came, okay, well, why can't she see? I feel like the man that was in the marketplace and they were asking in the New Testament, they began to ask Jesus, who sinned? Did the mom sin? Did he sin? Who sinned? And he was like, this blindness came so that God's work can be done in him. So I'm sitting up here and I'm dealing with my blindness and I'm dealing with everything, this vision compromise, and I'm dealing with all these different attacks and everything. And I'm just hoping that I'm glorifying God the right way while I'm doing this. While I'm going through this, I'm just hoping that God is getting praises and He's being worshipped for the work that He's doing in my life. Because this is indeed quite a job to take on. You know, they always called Job, but we used to call him Job. You know, and the funniest thing, I thought that I had an issue when I called them Job. Because everybody was like, that's Job. That's Job. No, that's Job. That's that work. That's that work. Trust me, you ain't never had to go through a godly work before. You ain't had to get on your job with your faith before. You ain't never had everything stripped away from you and you did nothing wrong before. You ain't never been diseased and you like, okay, well, where did disease come from before? So, knowing this and knowing the Word of God and knowing what happened to the women and the men of God before this, the women and the men of God challenges, the women and the men of God battles and the things that they went through, you know, unless you actually align yourself to the Word of God, you will never conquer them. Because all those clerks that came before, those disciples that came before was clerks, they had to write this stuff down. They had to write how to battle demonic spirits down. We talk about the battle. Look, we can't just forget to read the book of God, but we got to actually know about the battles that God people face that the Word of God assists and aid with. Okay, I can't touch my wife when I want to touch my wife. Or I can't touch my husband when I want to touch my husband. Why? Because we're in a war zone. A lot of people don't know about those battles. A lot of people don't know that Israel fell into whorism multiple times, which caused it to be enslaved under possessors. That's why it's written, you will have but one master, which is the Word of God. Know what you're dealing with, you guys. I hope these words encourage you, give you strength in the darkest times. Know that you only have one master, which is the Word of God, and you must master yourself the rest of the way. And if you become like that Word of God and you become perfection, of course, the demonic spirit, everything unclean, is going to try to change you in every way. And when I say it's going to try to change you, these people are trying to change the Word of God. Just believe in God, stay strong, stay encouraged. Hopefully these words encourage you. Remember, keep checking your videos too, because, man, they're changing a lot. Stay blessed, stay up.